Hello, everyone. My name is Neil Hayek. Thank you for attending this session. With me on stage is Megan Brodkey, a senior community specialist and Salesforce MVP, Shubi Goyal, a senior software engineer working on our CMS product, and Rohan Pandey, a manager for audience targeting. Today, we're going to be talking to you about how you can create, manage, and target content for your community and sites. I'm sure you've all seen this, especially since it's Thursday, but please make your purchasing decisions based off of what is already out and not what is on the roadmap. Everything you see functionally demoed today will be available as of the winter release, though. And do want to thank you on behalf of us at Salesforce for giving us an opportunity to make an impact within your organizations and by extension to your customers. The vision within Community Cloud, and specifically our digital experience platform, is to enable you to create pixel-perfect experiences across devices and across use cases, such as self-service, PRM, and commerce. To enable this vision, our DXP platform has a wealth of functionality out of the box, so with clicks and without code, you're able to create sites. We have templates which influence how your site looks, the branding of it. We have components, over 100 components out of the box, which is most of the Salesforce data you're used to inside your desktop, internal view, Lightning. And we brought them to communities so you could expose what you want to customers. We also have these on the App Exchange for many more. And templates is a combination of the two. You could think of it like a PowerPoint template, the arrangement of which content you want, and also it'll have some out-of-the-box components, for example, in order to get to the end result. With these three options, you could get pretty far. We do have additional templates on the App Exchange as well called Bolt Solutions. For this talk, though, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about content and targeting. So I'm proud to introduce CMS for Community Cloud. Our vision for CMS is to act as a hub for your content. This will enable three use cases. One, you'll be able to reuse your existing content management system, such as Adobe Experience Manager, Sitecore, Drupal, WordPress, and pull content in to your site. Second, you'll be able to use your CRM data as content. I'm really excited about that. It really showcases what we have to offer when you integrate CMS with Salesforce. And third is native content. This is what you might be used to, how you can create news, blogs, banners, etc. To talk more about our native offering is Shubi Goyal.
Thanks, Neil, for the great introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Shubi, and I'm part of the community CMS team. Like Neil said, starting winter 19, we're introducing CMS for Community Cloud, through which you'll be able to author content natively inside Salesforce, or you could bring content hosted on other websites through CMS Connect. So when we say native content, we're basically referring to the content that you can author inside Salesforce. It could be content such as news, blogs, articles, or it could even be your CRM objects as content. And then, of course, there's CMS Connect. After you're done with curating and managing your content, you can go ahead and add rich visual experience to all of it through the Lightning Community Builder. This approach for CMS is also known as headless CMS, in the sense that the presentation layer is effectively decoupled from your content. So that means that the head is gone, and then you can effectively make API calls to get your content and render it as you like. Also, more often than not, you feel the need to collect your content into related lists. To do just that, we're introducing collections. So these collections could be either dynamic or they could be curated. When we say dynamic, we mean that these collections can be based on a query criteria that we're going to look at very soon, or they can be curated in the sense that you can handpick what content you want to show. Of course, there's CRM as content, so you can group your CRM objects as content and show them on your community pages. And then there is a wide array of flexible layouts in the community builder, which you can plug and play and see what works for your community pages. So very quickly then, let's move to the demo. For the demo use case today, we're looking at a community belonging to a fictitious company called Rat Sports. And this is the community workspace's landing page. For those of you who are new, this is where the administrator can basically create and manage every aspect of the community. And starting winter 19, we're introducing the new tile called the content management tile. So when you click on it, you can see that you look at all the different categories of content that we just talked about. There's native content, which means that this is the content that you've authored inside your community. The content type that we're currently supporting is news. And if you click on one of the content items, you see that every news item has a predefined set of fields to it. For example, here you can see that there's a title, there's a rich body to it, and you can even associate a featured image with your content. Also, another great thing is that now you can tag your content with topics. So as you can see, this content item is associated with the fitness topic. Also, to enable the authors to have multiple iterations of the same content, we're supporting different versions and different statuses as well. So the ones that you're looking at are draft, published, and archived. Cool, moving on, let's move to Salesforce CRM as content. So as you can see, these objects that you're looking at are your regular CRM data, and these could be even custom objects. And these are the ones that basically support list views. So when you click on Add CRM Connections, you're basically whitelisting your CRM objects to be shown as content. So these are all the objects that are present within your org. You can pick and choose what you like and whitelist them accordingly. And last but not least, we have CMS Connect. Megan will very shortly talk about it. So to move further, let's start looking at collections. So when we say collections, these are basically logical groups of the content. And when you click on new collections, we give you the ability to choose between a native content collection or a Salesforce CRM collection. So since this is a Rad Sports community, we're going to start with creating fitness articles collection. And let's choose native content. And as you can see, there are different filter criteria that you can pick and choose from. There's a topic, there's a published date, there's a title. Let's select topic and say we want to show all the items which have topic fitness associated to them. So when you click on finish, you should expect to see all the news articles that we just saw which are tagged with fitness. Another thing is that you can create CRM collections. So when you click on new and you want a way to showcase all the RAD products, which are basically custom objects in your org. So you click on Salesforce CRM, select the RAD products custom object, and we're basically leveraging the power of list views. So these are all the public list views associated with this object. Your list views could have different capabilities. You can have different filter criteria on your list views and see what works for you. So when you click on finish, you should see all the records associated with that particular list view on RAD products. Very quickly then, let's move on to Community Builder and see what we can do to add presentation layer on top of our content. So as you can see, right now we're in the Community Builder. This is like a drag and drop solution for you to configure every aspect of community pages. And as you can see, we have pre-configured some components already. All of these are CMS-related components. So very first, since this is a RAD promotions page, I'd want to engage the users by showcasing the fitness articles content that we just created. So let's look for the CMS collection component on the component palette and drag and drop it to any of these sections. When you click on Add Collection, you see the list of all the collections that are already present. Let's select fitness articles. And as soon as you do that, you have a default rendition of your content in these layouts. So let's drill into collection layout, and you can see that currently we're looking at a grid. You can, let's stick with a carousel for this, this particular use case. Then there are different properties of the carousel which you can configure. You can choose to hide the progress indicator or show or whatever. And then moving on, you can also configure every layout inside the carousel. So as you can see, there is a banner, there's a tile, and there's a card between which you can choose. So for this use case, let's go with the card. Again, there are different configurable properties that you can play around with and see what works for you. So that's about the native collection. Another thing is that up until now, the only standard way for you to bring Salesforce CRM content in your community pages would be a component like the record list. Even though it's very powerful, it's quite, you cannot control the presentation aspect of it much. So to do that, let's drag and drop another component, the same one, CMS collection. And let's see if we can show RAD products, which is the custom object, and see if we can customize the layout. So when we select RAD products, you see that you can do the same customizations on top of it as well. If you drill into collection layout, let's choose a grid layout this time. And let's say that the maximum rows displayed can be 1. Cool. And if you see, there are a bunch of other properties. There are the colors that you can play around with. And then moving into the content layout, you can see that again, we have banner, tile, and card. Let's choose a tile this time. And then you are also given with the option to change the content mapping. This is very powerful in the sense that if you click on the Change Content Mapping section, the button, you see that you can map the different fields on your layout with individual fields on your custom object. For example, here, if you see, the title is mapped to the product's name. The subtitle is now mapped to the product description. The image is mapped to the image, and so on. And when you hit on save, you see that all the fields are in all the right places. You see that the images have started showing up. And then there are other properties which you can configure. You can change the image height, you can change the colors, etc. So like you can see from the plain old record list, we have now been able to show content, now show even CRM content in fancy layouts. So that's the power of native CMS and the CMS for Community Cloud. All this was done only through a couple of clicks, not any code at all. And that's about it. Over to you, Megan, for
Awesome.
CMS Connect.
Thank you so much, Shubi. That was awesome. So Shubi showed you guys how you can use your content that's inside of Salesforce to represent different things inside your community. I'm going to tell you about bringing in external content into your community. I don't know if any of you have actually done a dev project that's going to be so easy for an integration. It's not. It's never easy. So I worked on a project where we had to bring in Adobe AEM. It was supposed to be 6 weeks. Super easy. We totally had this. By the time we had all the different languages, all the different libraries, everything was added up. That 6-week project turned into 6 months, turned into 9 months. And next thing you know, we're over budget, we're over timeline, and it was horrible. It was not an experience I ever want to relive. And with CMS Connect, you can connect all those different languages, you can connect all those different libraries within minutes, declaratively, without having to write a single line of code. And you can do that with WordPress, you can do that with Drupal, and it's really taken the dev work out of that integration for your community. It's fantastic. And so we're going to do a lovely demo for you to show you how easy it is. So back to your workspace. This is like your home page as a community admin. This is where you're going to live. So we go into Content Management, and we go into CMS Connect. There's no longer that CMS Connect square. It's now in here. So now we're going to go into our connection. It's already set up. You're going to set this up on your own. You'll use this public API.WordPress. You'll notice that the CMS source is WordPress. And you'll notice that we have public here. You can also have authenticated. This is great if you're doing something where you have like an LMS or your CMS where somebody actually needs to have named credentials. This is blog. All right, easy peasy, totally unauthenticated and public. Up here we've got our content item and our content list. The difference between these two is when you're thinking about it, if you think about that blog feed where you have all your different posts together in like a list, that is your content list. That single blog post, that's your content item. Boom. Awesome. So you put that in there. You cannot make any of by the way, don't make any of this up. This has to come straight out of the JSON. Yeah, that's real stuff. And then you have to hit save. So sweet. Moving forward. Next thing you do is you just go into the community builder. So right here again, these points are right out of the JSON. You'll drag and drop over the CMS Connect JSON. Your source is going to be that same WordPress source that you just set up. And we're going to go with the user blogs because we want to have that feed so we can see everything. Leave the component path blank. You're going to want a grid. You can do 6, you can do 9, you can do 12, anything you want. Throw it in there. Throw a bunch of numbers in. Throw your columns in too. I don't recommend going over 3. It starts to get messy. And then here are those points that are out of your JSON again. Here's your title, your author/name, your date, your content, and your featured image. And then Salesforce is going to do this lovely automatically created community page for you. You have the option to do an external URL, but you want to keep people in your community. Why send them away? You got to keep them in there. Keep them in there. That's where you want them to be. So if we click on that page, you'll notice it's going to look like it's nothing. But we'll click on that component, and you'll see that some of these are grayed out. This is because this page gets automatically generated for you, and that component gets dropped on there for you. And here, you just have to put in some of those details that you want to have. So again, title, author, date, content, featured image. And so if we actually jump back to the blog page, and we'd go into preview, we can actually see what that individual post looks like. And so we'll go to read more. Look at that. That little page that looked like it didn't have anything in there is now the full-on blog post. And we just set up that full integration to WordPress right here and now. So easy. And now we're going to learn about audience targeting.
Great. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rohan, and we are going to be talking about audience targeting. So now that you have all your content set up in your community through CMS Connect, native CMS, and all other places, it's time to personalize your community, right? All right, so what is personalization, right? So you don't want to have single experience for each and every user of your community. You want to have it personalized to their needs and what is more engaging to them. So there are 3 W's of personalization that I want to talk about. First one is who. So who's your target audience, right? Who are the people you want to target? So these are the people in your community which you can group by certain criteria or rules, right? So once you've created your audience, you're ready to assign it to certain components and other things. Now, what is it that you want to personalize? Since you're in a community, you can personalize your community pages, you can personalize your branding sets, or you can personalize components on your community pages to show or hide those components for certain users. And where are we doing it? Since we are in community context, it's mostly web-based for now. Now, these are different who and what, right? I mean, so we talked about criteria. So these are the different criteria which are available, right? So you have user profile, which is the profile of your community user. You can use their location, which could be city, state, or country, based on where they are coming from. Or it could be referring domain. If you have multiple custom domains pointing to your community, you can choose which one to use for your audience targeting. You can use record type for record detailed pages, or you can use fields on user object or traverse to other objects from user, like contact, accounts, and other fields on those objects as well. And of course, you can use a combination of all of these to target your theme or branding, pages, and component visibility. Now, what's new in Winter 19 is criteria operators. So you can not only use equals for your criteria, you can also use less than, equal to, contains, starts with, and things like that, based on which field you are using for your criteria. All right, so enough of talking. Let's look at everything in a demo. So here we are on Rad Sports community, right? So this is like the Rad Sports has created this community where prospective runners can come in, get information, and register for marathons. So they've created this community, and they want to target it for male or female users, right? And even for female users, they want to further target it for users who are either based in San Francisco or who have run more than 4 marathons in the past. So here I'm logged into the community as Eric, who recently registered on their community. All right, so you can see that we have content coming in from CMS, or if you scroll down, you'll have that will show trending products like shoes, which are more relevant to Eric, and as he can take a look at them. Now, let's switch gears to one of the female users, Jessica. All right, so it's the same community, but you will see different content being pulled into the community. right? So you have the top row, which is specifically shown only for users who have run more than 4 marathons. And since Jessica has run more than 4 marathons, she's able to see that component. If you scroll down further, then you'll see that there's also a different set of shoes which are being displayed to her. And since we also know that she has run more than 4 marathons and we have her data, we are also showing her race history from previous marathons. So totally 2 different experiences, but the same community, right? Now let's see how the community manager was able to achieve this in Community Builder. So here we are looking at a homepage which is tailored for female users, right, as you can see on the top. Now, in order to create and customize your community, personalize your community, there are 2 simple, easy steps. One is create your audience by defining certain rules based on criteria. And once you've created your audience, you can just assign the audience to pages, components, or branding sets. That's it, simple. Let's see. Now, if you go to page variations, you can see that we have this manage audience icon where you can click and see what are the audiences which are already created. You can create a new audience by clicking on new audience button, and then you can see that we have all these criteria which are available for you to choose from. So you can name your audience, you can choose your profile, location, domain, or fields on user object. So for the demo, we have already created one of the audience. So let's take a look at the audience and what it looks like. So if you take a look at the San Francisco runners or advanced runners, we can see that we have already added criteria for San Francisco as location. And on the user object, we have stored data from, once the users register, we figure out, okay, these are the marathons that they've already run into. So we have that data as well on the user object. So not only on the user object, you can also traverse to user other records, other objects from user, like contact, or further drill down to account and choose any fields on those objects to use for your audience targeting. This is really powerful, I think. Like this is CRM data. This is your CRM data that you can use in your audience targeting. All right. So this is really cool, and you can use really complex audiences by using this data. So there are a couple of things that I want to highlight. Like one is the operators that we have introduced in this release. So you can see that for number of marathons, we have greater than, equals, less than, and other operators which you can use. So it doesn't always have to be equal. And the other thing that I want to talk about is that you can do and or for your criteria types. So before Winter 19, all the criteria were always and, but now you can choose whether you want to show and or. As you can see in the profile, audience summary, you can see that the audience is San Francisco or the number of marathons is greater than 4. So in addition to this, you can always use profile and domain if you want to make your audience more complex. All right, so this is the audience definition that we have done, right? So once you have created your audience, it's time to assign the audience to other places in the community. We have already assigned the audience to page variation. Now you can, if you go to page variation table, and then you can see the actions dropdown has an option to assign the audience. So this is where you can go in and pick and choose which audience you want to assign for this page variation. Not only for pages, you can go to branding sets, where you can take a look at all the branding sets which are available in your community. And the same way, you can go to the actions dropdown and assign the audience to the branding set. And similarly, for components on your page, you can select a component, and from the properties editor, you can assign the audience to the component from there as well. All right, so we have already assigned an audience to one of the components on this page. As you can see, this is assigned to San Francisco runners. So that's about it. We did all of this just using mouse clicks, right? I mean, no coding involved, and you were able to personalize your community and deliver personalized experience to your users. Once you publish all these changes, these are live, and your users will see personalized experiences based on which audience they fall into. That's about it for the demo. Let's switch back to slides. Thank you. So personalization roadmap. Spring 19, what's coming up is audiences based on permission sets. So you can not only use your profiles and other things that we saw in audience criteria right now. In addition to that, you will also be able to use custom or standard permission sets for your audiences. You'll be able to create custom logic for audiences, right? So right now, you just have all ands or all ors. So you'd be able to do a combination of and or in your criteria in your audiences. And of course, you'll be able to use audience behavior in Google Analytics. So we'll be exporting which audiences are being used right now in Google Analytics, so you can go there and analyze your audiences. Summer 19 and beyond, we want to have full API support for APIs for audiences. So you can do like full CRUD on audiences, and we want to expose it as one of the platforms that you can use openly and do whatever you want using audiences. Audience management at scale, so we want to have like thousands of audiences, which you can assign and use in a generic way. So it doesn't have to be like, so there's going to be a dedicated audience management, section that we'll be working on. Personalized experiences. So think about experiences as a bundle of pages, components, and branding sets all clubbed together. So instead of assigning them one by one, you'll be able to bundle them out together and assign that experience to the audience. All right, so we have a chatter group on Trailblazer community. It's called Personalization. So feel free to go there, post your feedback, ask us questions, and we'll be happy to answer all those questions for you. All right, over to you, Neil.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Megan, Shubi, and Rohan. I'd like to talk to you about our roadmap for CMS a bit. Again, everything you've seen so far is available as of winter 19. Right now, it's in the community management console how you access your CMS, which means that the CMS is tied to the community. One of our priorities to go GA is to pull it out of communities so we have a global space for managing your content and then local spaces for each community. So you could reuse content from your global space across all of your local spaces. In addition to pulling it out of communities, this will enable us to provide granular access control. You could specify who can do what at a very granular level. Also, translation support and scheduling are some of the features we plan for GA. For our winter release, we're really developer focused. We want to be a CMS for Salesforce. So a lot of APIs in order to create more content types and to be able to use us as a truly headless CMS. Again, I want to thank you, and if you want to find more information about these products or others in communities, the Palace Hotel, we have multiple booths set up there on the first and second floor, and also in Moscone South, there's a campground set up. For the remainder of the time, we're going to be open to your questions. I do want to ask if you guys could provide feedback. We definitely appreciate it. Megan is a veteran speaker here, but it's actually a first time for myself, Rohan, and Shubi, so any feedback, greatly appreciated. Please step up to the microphone if you have questions for any of us.
Hello. How does the CRM content part of it differ or is similar to what we do today? Today, I also expose a whole bunch of tabs and stuff to my community users, just like so. Only I saw a better UI presentation, which I don't have to do, right? Which is great. But what is the vision here? How does that and this become one?
Okay, so I believe the first thing you were talking about is how you can navigate to objects, something we had out of the box. You can navigate, get to the list view, get to the object detail pages, etc. And the alternative is the record list, which Shubi showed you, how you just see a list view on the page. So this is all around creating a customizable and rich experience. So the presentation is the main difference. You could pull in the data. You could, as you saw, there's many out-of-the-box features, different layouts, and more combinations and options for all-around presentation. That's where our focus is, compared to just a full detail page. You could obviously get to the detail page from the nav bar. This is a more engaging way to get there.
Got it. And is collection sort of the only way, or is there a list of these new presentations that we have accessible somewhere that we can look at? Okay, here's the choice of options.
If I understood the question, so the presentations you saw were around carousel and grid.
Yeah.
So the presentations were carousels and grid and cards, tile, etc. So we have those kind of 5 out of the box.
Yeah.
But again, when we become developer focused for Winter 20, we want to allow you to be able to create more customized for your specific use cases.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
Hi, my question was for Shubi. For the Salesforce CRM Connect, when you were selecting which list view to pull those off of, does that respect field level security so that if you've got a list view for internal and you don't want X field shared, that won't show for?
It absolutely does. So currently we're only supporting the public list views. So every other list view that's targeted to a particular group, that's not shown up in the options to choose from. So you only do see the public list views. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, so we want to show some similar content on community as we do on emails. So any thoughts or around the connectivity with Marketing Cloud Content Builder? I guess
I'm not
completely separate tools. Or,
Okay.
Is there any conversation around whether those two could eventually play together?
Well, I'm not too familiar with Marketing Cloud. I do know that you can create one-to-one journeys, and Marketing Cloud journeys can translate to communities. I happen to know for one of our demos, we had a scenario where you purchased something, and then through Marketing Cloud journeys, they sent you an email to register for a community
No,
that
this
tied
is
into
mostly around a paragraph that shows up here, also showing up on an email. Using that content object.
Oh, we're using content? Okay,
Yeah.
that's actually a good example. So as I mentioned, for Winter 20, we want to become a headless CMS. So at the moment, I would say, no, it's CMS for community cloud scenarios, but we want to become CMS for Salesforce.
Okay.
So that sounds like a good use case of once it's headless.
Thank you.
So now that you're moving into the content space, is there any plans for integration with like Pardot, which is what we're currently using for our regular marketing content?
Can't say, I'd probably have to get back to you. I can't say I'm not too familiar with Pardot and to envision how that might work together. At the moment, I can't say that there's plans that I'm aware of, but offline can maybe get back to you with more relevant information.
How about on the Google Analytics that you mentioned that was coming up? Now, how is that going to integrate with the audiences?
Currently, you already have Google Analytics integration in your community builder, right? So you can already send some of the data like page usage and things like that. So we are integrating with the existing functionality so that you can also get audience information in Google Analytics.
Oh, okay. So connecting to your Google Analytics.
Yeah.
So I would hope that there's some way to get that also into the Pardot.
Yeah, I'll have to
user
get back to that. I'll have to get back to that. Cool. Thank you.
All right.
Hi. Thank you so much for this feature. I'm really looking forward to the roadmap. My first question is for Megan. On the CMS Connect, you obviously demo how to do it, but then the end result did not really look like the rest, right? The native. So are there ways to make it look better?
So yeah, if you actually take the time to work on your CSS and your HTML on the other side, then yeah, it can look a lot better in the community builder.
So you would have to modify the CSS on that page to be able to.
If you actually do like custom HTML on the WordPress site, you're gonna have it look a lot better on the community builder side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it brings it in?
It brings it in, yeah.
Gotcha.
It'll bring it in.
Okay.
That is just like rich
Okay.
text.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. And then just a general, can you put the name of the group or we can follow up with more questions? I just didn't have the time to, like the one in Salesforce.
It's Foundation,
the success
right?
community.
Personalization.
That one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
Hey, I'm Savio. Just one question on Service Cloud Knowledgebase articles. Any kind of integration in the future? Or
So I would say that this
like
is...
if I have articles that I want to show both on the community as well as my support agents.
So you could do that today. You could do that outside of CMS. I would say this is complementary for some other use cases, but you definitely could display one-set knowledge articles to your customers in a community. I know there's other features involved there with like lookup and deflection, et cetera. We can maybe talk more offline about that.
But I'll have to build them separately, right? I mean,
So are you talking about an alternative to using knowledge within service?
if
then?
I have a single article that I want to share across both community and...
There's an out-of-the-box component you can use for that. Yeah. There's also free apps on the App Exchange, or
Yeah,
you
so
could
the
go custom
out-of-the-box
dev.
component it won't give me all of the other features that I have with what you have on CMS now, right?
Not,
Or maybe I can touch
Well-
base offline.
We've seen
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So the out-of-the-box knowledge article one wouldn't have all the rich options we have as far as the presentation layer. That is good feedback, and probably once, I think we should be in touch with the knowledge team after we've exposed our APIs for this. It's a good use case to enable, to make knowledge more rich.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Someone's coming up. Couple people are. Thank you for the claps.
Mine's for Megan. On the CMS Connect, is it possible to manipulate the data that's returned Or do you just get
Not
whatever
right
is
now.
returned via the
Can you?
JSON? And
You can't. I don't think you
it?
can right now.
No.
like
you
if
can't.
the order
Oh.
of the data that's returned via the JSON is not what you want, can you?
It's just one out-of-the-box component right now for the JSON.
So you'd have to customize if like the JSON data is returned and I only want to display like X
You could
part
probably
of
build
that.
you could build a custom component to display the JSON though, couldn't you?
Yes, we do plan to open it up for custom components in future, but are you talking about exposing only certain fields and not all the fields, so you can
Or do you wanna
definitely...
just
That could be one
rearrange
use
them.
case, but what I'm thinking of exactly is I know some of our APIs don't return the data in the order it's supposed to be displayed.
Oh.
So we have to apply custom sort
You
logic.
could hack something together right now, couldn't you?
Well, for JSON content, I'm not very sure. I don't think we can hack, but yeah, I think we can take that as feedback if we
Sure
can
you
change the sort
Yeah.
order.
With enough time and money, you can do anything with Salesforce.
Thank you.
One use case I want to point out, as we've used in some demos for CMS Connect, is like an HTML banner. So I know when we're talking about CSS and something more complex like blogs, a lot of options come up. But just to give people ideas, if you create a banner, something it's HTML, et cetera, in AEM, and you just want to pull it in, you want it to look exactly like it does, you could do that in 10 seconds. At least my demos, it takes as long as I could type it. So just think of those simpler use cases as well. Some ways are easier, you might say. This is, I'd say, a more complex example of what you could do with it.
You could probably like iframe it in too if you really wanted it to look like the exact same.
Yeah, we don't want it to look exactly. We need to change it. 'Cause a lot of our APIs on the back end don't return the data the way we need it.
No, but the exact same the way it is on the other site.
But you're processing it like this, I guess. Yeah, we fix it on the other side, then we don't need to manipulate it on our end.
Well, now you're just being lazy. Sorry.
Hi, we are implementing AEM right now, so thanks for the confidence builder here, it was great. As I look at that, though, with all that you're doing with CMS, the next thing that comes to mind is PIM, Product Information Management. Is the roadmap, maybe that's not your group, I don't know, but does the roadmap start to go into that area? Because we're also pushing product level stuff into our communities.
Okay, so we showed you a somewhat basic example of pulling product information as CRM data here. As far as more complex scenarios, on our roadmap, I mentioned again for Winter 20, we want to become headless. And one of our first use cases is actually integration with Commerce Cloud, because they were an acquisition from Demandware, they're off core, so it's pretty different for whoever's familiar with it. We want to be able to leverage it in that sense, and so they'd have a way of managing products in their area. As far as other sources, I can't say we've thought really past that. That's a year ahead for us. So, but I can imagine once it's headless, once we have all these APIs developed, then it enables a lot more options such as that.
I can. Just one quick one. Is it included in the search on community, any of the CMS content?
Good question. So today in winter, you wouldn't see that, but that is planned for GA next summer.
GA is the headless?
So GA is, switch away from the,
Can you do federated search though?
yeah. So there's two types of search.
CMS Connect.
Yeah.
Okay. You can do federated search.
Oh, but I was thinking in the community search bar
Yeah.
where you can use like knowledge or...
Yeah, so two types of search that we want to have, that we have planned for GA. One is on the creation of content. So right now, we showed you a list of news, and it was maybe 30 or so long, and you could scroll through it. But once you get to hundreds, obviously for creators, that could become more complex. So we want to have search on both the author side and the consumer side for members of the community. So that is planned.
Okay.
1 minute left, possibly more question if there are any. All right. Well, again, thank you for attending.